What up, players? It's Warbosstae up in this mud. Today we are painting up a Legionnaire of the, or a brother Marine, I guess they don't call themselves Legionnaire anymore, of the 7th Legion, the Imperial Fists. That's gotta be right, isn't it? Dark Angels, blank, Emperor's Children, Iron Warriors, White Scars, Space Wolves. Yeah, 7th. Wow. So the 7th Legion, led by Rogel Dorn in its heyday. He was the Primarch. Now led by something Lysander, Darnath Lysander. This is how far we're getting today. Yellow base coat, which is Averland Sunset, and then a wash with Seraphim Sepia. Reds are all Corn Red for now. Then your usual Chaos Black, Lead Belcher, and Rackard Flesh for the purity seals, and for the pouches here we use, I believe it's XV88. So, thanks for watching. The Iron Warriors, the Imperial Fists are great Legion, really iconic, and they are, in my opinion, much cooler than the Ultramarines as the good guys of the Warhammer universe. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and stay tuned for the next one. The tour of the Empire continues. Well, Imperium actually. The Empire tour has been postponed indefinitely while I work up the courage to paint some more State Troopers, but never mind that. Today we are going on to the 7th Legion of the first founding legions. There were 18 original legions of Space Marines, and today we're looking at the 7th one, Imperial Fists, trucking along. So the first thing you're going to do after you build your Space Marines, and let me just tell you a little bit about how I built mine. I wanted to go for a very standard looking Imperial Fist. Maybe this guy could be used as a sergeant or a veteran, but basically I thought, let's just build a regular guy with a bolter. And the Imperial Fists were known as the most dutiful, honorable. They were there at the Imperial Palace on Earth when it was being besieged in the final days of the Horus Heresy War, and they were like amongst the Emperor's most favorite sons, I guess you could say, because they were so honorable, they were so strict about military doctrine and precision and accuracy, and they were just really right there at the Emperor's side. So these are, to me, these are the quintessential good guys. You see a lot of Games Workshop fluff and stuff have the Ultramarines as the standard, you know, the blue guys are the standard go-to Space Marines, but to me, fluff-wise, it was the Imperial Fists. They were the most loyal of the Emperor's sons, and they were the ones that really adhered to his teachings and to his goal of unifying the Imperium, whereas the Ultramarines were off becoming super awesome and establishing their own little kingdoms on Ultramar, in the Ultramar region. But that's neither here nor there, that's more of a fluff thing. Today we're going to paint up our Space Marines. So to symbolize that this is a Legionnaire of the 7th Legion, the Imperial Fists, and that he is really super good and honorable and virtuous, I gave him some extra purity seals here on his armor. I picked the legs that have the purity seal on the left side, and I just armed him with a bolter. So after building him up, you spray prime your model, and then you start painting. So I'm going to use Averland Sunset as the base. I really like to prime my models in this duplicate color gray color scheme. It's, to me, it's the best thing. I think black is too dark. I used to prime all my models in black, but most of you have heard me say this before. Black was just a little too dark. It became harder for me to see what I needed to see, and white is just too bright for the exact opposite reason. I didn't want to use white. So I'm using a gray primer, and I've been using this primer for a good long time. Actually just put this figure together like maybe, I want to say, an hour ago. Took it outside, spray primed it, let it dry. I think actually some of the basing material might not be completely on yet. Oh well. It's alright. So, Averland Sunset. It's the new yellow. For those of you who remember the old foundation colors from the old Citadel paint range, yellow was Eandon Dark Sun, and boy, that was a tough color to use because it was a pale yellow that could end up quite bright, but as a pale yellow coming right out of the box, it was very thick, or right out of the pot rather. It was really, really thick, and you had to really cover, or what am I talking about? You really had to thin it down. Use a wet palette or put some water into it onto your brush before using it to paint, and it was just it was a tricky color to use. It had a really nice finish, really, really bright, but personally, as I started learning more about paint, color theory, painting, how to match my colors, and as I decided that I didn't want to go for the really cartoony style of painting, but maybe more of a realistic style to my colors, then Eandon Dark Sun as a yellow started to look just a little too garishly bright a color for yellow. So I decided instead to start using more of a Tau Sept ochre color, and then lo and behold, new color range, new horizons, new adventures, and a brand new yellow color. Along with the yellow wash, man, we never seen that before, huh? Cassandora yellow. Alright, this right shoulder pad here seems to be giving me a little trouble, so I'm going to let it dry, come back, hit it with another little application, but everything else seems to be doing pretty well. The paint is going on very nicely and smoothly. Going to let it all dry for a little bit, and then when we come back, we will start to we'll give this color a wash, and then we'll start picking out the details. For the record, total disclaimer, I have never painted an Imperial Fists model before, so unlike my other models in this series, this is actually my test model right now. And for yellow, it's a deceivingly hard color to get a good finish off of. A lot of painters don't like yellow. I'm trying not to think about it as I attack it with this new base color. Just hope that everything goes well. So we're gonna let this dry, and when we come back, I'm gonna have this shoulder pad a little bit more covered in yellow evenly, and we will move on to the next step in the process. Alright, so our yellow has dried, and now we're going to get on to the joins in the armor, and we're going to do that with Chaos Black. Or Abaddon Black, whichever you have. And by joins, I mean these little parts between between all the joints, behind the knee, behind the elbows. Now I made my guys with the all with pieces of the tactical marine kit. So you might be using, like if you're painting an Imperial Fists assault squad or Vanguard veterans or Stern Guard veterans, most of the same rules all apply. Since, you know, most Marines are all built the same. Alright, so there is that. Next we're going to take some corn red and we're going to paint the insignia across his chest. If you make any mistakes like I just did, don't worry, you can just go back over them with the original color, which was Averland Sunset. That's pretty cool. Let's see. We're also going to paint corn red onto the, it's like the shoulder rims and any wax seal paper. Let me just double check. I'm looking at a lot of different pieces of inspirational examples of other armies, and yeah, it looks like most of them either have a black shoulder trim or red. So yeah, Third Company has a red shoulder trim. So let's do it. This corn red is also going to be used to paint the wax seals of your purity seals. Yeah, this red and yellow really complement each other really nicely. we go. Don't forget to paint under the rims. Alright, and a little bit more. Cool, very cool. Let's do some parchment. I'm gonna take Ricard Flesh next. Paint this onto our wax or our parchment seals. I remember when I first started painting and or actually just getting into these models, I used to think that these parchment seals, these purity seals, were so needless and ridiculous looking, and I was like, why do they have strips of paper like stuck on their armor? I couldn't fathom what the purpose of it was. But the more I learned about the Space Marines fluff, the fiction, the way that they perceive themselves as like monastic orders of crusading knights in space, and monks, and that on these strips of paper were like blessings by their what's it called, chaplains, then the more I thought like, okay, I guess it makes sense, and then the more into it I got, the cooler I thought it was. Chaos Black for the bolter casing. Looking at the Imperial Fists on Lexicanum, all the fluff sites like the Warhammer 40k Wikia, and they really do come off as the good guys, more so than the Ultramarines. Just when you look at their just their history and their belief systems, the fact that when the Emperor was interred on the throne, and right at the end of the Horus Heresy, the Ultramarines wanted to Rabut Gilimin wanted to rebuild the Empire, or the Imperium, like immediately. He didn't want to waste any time. and all Rogoldorn wanted to do was go off and find the traitors wherever they were and just take them all out. And that's pretty cool. Ooh, turn the air conditioner back on. And we're gonna do a little bit more lead belcher on the back vents, as always. One of my first, when I was getting into the whole YouTube scene, here's a little personal story for you all out there. One of my first earliest inspirations to post videos was Les Burley's, otherwise known as Awesome Paint Jobs, How to Paint an Imperial Fist video. I remember he was one of my first subscriptions, one of the first channels I subscribed to, and I just kept hoping that he would paint models from my armies so that I could learn how to paint stuff better. And although, you know, he didn't really do anything for my armies because I was mostly playing fantasy and he really just kind of does like 40k stuff, just learning from him, his technique, I got to learn so much, I think, for how to film and edit together a video. And even though I don't copy his style, I have my own style of doing things in the real time. I really appreciate all of the early inspiration that I got from his videos. They really helped me get a good idea of what I wanted to do with my own channel. And this was even before I think I had really decided that I wanted to do a channel. This was even back when I was just painting for fun, just surfing the web looking for videos and tutorials and guides. And you gotta understand that when I got into the hobby first in 1996, there was really like nothing out there. The internet was still not that accessible to everybody, and so articles and guides and stuff, they weren't very common. You had to really go looking, and in order to do articles and guides, you had to have a good knowledge of HTML and set how to format a site and do all this and that, and most people just didn't want to do it for such a niche thing as wargaming. So I remember when I got onto YouTube and I started looking around for like guides and tutorials and stuff, and I realized that, oh my gosh, this is where the hobby can thrive. Here on YouTube, it really was a very revelatory moment for me. I was like, we can grow the hobby here on YouTube and do videos and guides and talk about the hobby in ways that, you know, before you would have to wait until your shop had like a gaming tournament or a weekly games night, and you couldn't really do anything on your own. When I was actually growing up, when I was a little kid, I would have to wait like every 4 months for games day, because I never went to the, I don't even know if there was like the annual, or not annual, but the weekly games night at my shop when I was, you know, when I was only 12 years old. There really wasn't much of a call for it. It was only when I started really getting into it later that the hobby was picking off, getting more, taking off. It was picking up, rather, getting more popular. XV88, and in doing so, we were able to, you know, grow and expand our fan base. And this is really, it's a really cool time to be involved in the hobby. If you're watching this video right now and you are under the age of like 20, then man, you don't know how lucky you got it, brother or sister. I think we should be quite honest with each other, Master. I don't think many women watch your videos. No, I suppose they wouldn't, Igor. It's not a bad thing. I've just always thought that wargaming and Warhammer in general is more of a male-centric hobby. Yeah, you definitely have a point there, buddy. Now, if you were painting Sisters of Battle, or maybe Eldar, then that would be different. But as you're painting a big manly man in big beefy Superman armor, and you're painting him the color of Ronald McDonald, then I don't really see why women would want to be watching your video. Alright, thank you. Thank you, Igor. If I had a girlfriend though, I'd make her watch your videos. Well, that is nice to know. I'd say to her, Hey She-Goal, look in your subscription feed. Did Warbosstae post up a new video? And she'd say, Oh, I don't know, Igor. All I see are videos from Blue Table Painting, Mini Wargaming, Girl Painting, General Splatton, The Joey Berry, WG Consortium, AG Productions. But then I'd have to say, alright, She-Goal, I got the picture. Warbosstae doesn't release that many videos. At least not enough to clog up the subscription feed like those other big-timey heavy hitters. But that's alright, because I still love Warbosstae, and he's my best friend, the best friend that a crypt horror could ever have, and I love him so very much. And Igor, yes, master. Have you eaten another one of the neighborhood cats? Well, I might have, master. Now that you mention it, I just might have. Well, let's get on with it then. The last thing we're gonna do before we cut off this video is I'm gonna try it out. I know it worked really well before. I'm gonna try it out. Traditionally though, you would color yellow with sepia. So you would use Seraphim sepia, but we're gonna be daring. We're gonna try this Cassandora yellow out. I did it before on the I think it was the Averland. Yeah, it's got a very orangey tinge, I remember from my Firebelly video. So we might stop and do Seraphim Sepia. Or just do them both. Yeah, I might just do them both. Alright, so yeah, it's not bad, it's just, I think, let me try Seraphim Sepia, see how much it changes. Yeah, it's definitely a lot darker. It gives it a lot more of a shading, much more shading. So that's what we're doing here. Seraphim Sepia. If you want to use Cassandora Yellow, then I suggest that maybe use some Seraphim Sepia first, hit all these dark shadows, and then come back over it with Cassandora Yellow later. Try not to get any. Try to get this Seraphim Sepia only on the yellows. We're gonna try and hit the metallics, the leather of the pouches and all that with a different shade. So try to only get it in on the yellows if you can. And possibly the reds, the cone red. Alright, so that should wrap it up for this one. You just want to make sure that you don't leave anything in the, leave any big pools to dry up and leave nasty watermarks. When we come back in, actually no, let's do a little bit more. We really gotta get to the rest of it. Just gonna do a little bit of Agrax Earthshade on the bags, the pouches, as well as the Purity Seal. Let's see if we can knock this out before the video cuts off. Thanks for watching, players, and we'll see you next time for part 2 of how to paint in Imperial Fists Space Marine for Project First Founding. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Latest, players!